we'll save that for the
Yeah.
audience.
Right.
So exciting.
So what I always think is funny, when you hit Google Hangouts, it says you can only live stream for up to 8 hours. So we've got a time limit here.
Yeah. I could probably talk about it that
We
long.
all could,
Yes,
individually.
Absolutely.
Let's make it
So,
a day.
all right, so we'll go ahead and get started, and I usually just count us in. So 3, 2, 1. Well, hello, everyone out there in podcast land. This is the Beyond the Mouse podcast from the Front Row Network. We are the Disney-themed podcast of the Front Row Network, and we're so excited to have you with us here today. We've got some amazing guests that I will get to here in just a second, but we're talking about one of those classic Disney films now. It came out in 1993, celebrating a 25th anniversary. We're going to talk all things Hocus Pocus, and I cannot wait for that. But I did want to mention that actually we've already discussed that on the Front Row Movie Reviews way a long time ago. So if you go back to the 13th episode out of, 350 episodes now that we have, we discussed Hocus Pocus. It was Jeremy, Anna, Sarah, and I. Way different format. And I think we giggled the entire time. So I tried to go back and listen to it, and it is a little bit rough to listen to. But of course, this is the first time on Beyond the Mouse, and thank you all so much for following us on the Facebook page now that we've got going, and then also through our individual iTunes feed. You can also follow us, of course, at the Front Row Network. But enough of my plugging of our show. We want to talk to our guests. So like I said, my name's Craig, and I've got Vanessa and Brett here with me. But more importantly, we have the ladies of Disneyland Foodies. How are you?
Hi, everybody.
And
Hello.
could you all go around and introduce yourselves?
Sure, Jenna, you start. You're the oldest.
We are a group of sisters. We are Disneyland Foodies. My name is Jenna.
I'm Amanda.
And I'm Kara.
We're so excited.
I know, we're excited to have you. So thank you for coming to us from California. You know, I don't want to make light of weather right now because of everything going on in Florida. However, I do want you to know that here in the Midwest, it was 80 degrees last weekend. And as we sit here, it is 40 degrees right now.
Wow.
So
It's raining today at Disneyland.
Yeah.
I think there was
Which
some
is a rarity.
thunderstorms last night. Raining today. So probably a good day to
We'll be the ray of sunshine for all this.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So we do have a question, and they were briefed on this a little bit because of Vanessa.
I'm sorry.
We do have a question that we have to ask right away for new guests, and we'll go. We can go in the order that you introduce yourselves. But what is your favorite movie?
Disney movie or any movie?
It really can be any movie you want. Some people try to list about 12 of them. It'd be good if you could keep it to 2 or 3. Doesn't have to be Disney. Doesn't have to be animated. Just favorite movie in general.
I did one of each.
I have a feeling that Amanda is going to say this one, so I'm going to save it for her. But we have a lot of overlap in our favorite movies for sure. And one that comes to mind right now is a little gem from the 90s. It's called The First Wives Club.
Oh,
yes.
Bravo.
Awesome.
That underappreciated in its time, but I think it's grown to have sort of a big following. But we've loved it all along. It's very quotable. I think there are 4 Oscar-winning actresses in that movie, so it's definitely something that I know the 3 of us enjoy watching. So I'm going to say, in this moment right now, that is my favorite movie.
It also features 2 actresses who are in Hocus Pocus.
I didn't even think of that. Thank you, Amanda.
My favorite movie doesn't feature anybody from Hocus Pocus that I know of, but I think one of my favorite movies of all time is Back to the Future.
Yes.
That's classic. It's one of those movies, anytime it's on, I have to watch it. And I just love the story, love the characters. Again, a quotable movie. And I think it's just, even though they go back to the future, I feel like it's timeless in a weird way. So, yeah, that's definitely mine.
Okay, I'll say my favorite movie right now is Mamma Mia, Here We Go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We've got some
all summer, I'm like blasting that soundtrack. My favorite Disney movie, though, I think, is Hercules.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Like a dark horse, but like the music's really good, and I was Megara for Halloween when I was a kid.
wow.
And everything. So I think that's my favorite Disney movie.
You are now Brett's favorite sister.
Well, no, I'm sure I went wrong. But I'm a big fan of Hercules.
Oh, good.
So, thank you so much for being on. We can't wait to dive in and talk all things Disneyland with you, and particularly about Disneyland food, because everyone should go out and follow these folks on Instagram, because your food pictures, don't look at it over your lunch break. It's really difficult to look at over your lunch break, because you're just like, oh man, this food looks all so great.
Well, it's gorgeous.
The pictures are gorgeous. I looked at every single photo you had, and all I had to eat was toast. And I was not happy about that at all.
Yeah. I don't think there's any pictures of toast.
Not a food they offer.
You really got to get on that. So, but we are so happy to have you on. Definitely go follow their page, and we're going to talk a lot about that later. But we do want to address one thing that just dropped this week, and that's the teaser trailer for the live-action Aladdin movie. It's going to be coming out basically Memorial Day weekend of 2019, so we have that to look forward to. It was just a teaser. It really only gave us one glimpse of Aladdin, or, well, technically two, but one, he was going into a lion's mouth. So, but I want to get your opinions of that. As Disney fans, are you excited about these remakes? Are you not? Are you excited about this one in particular?
I'm mixed with some of the remakes. Some of them I'm excited for. Some of them, like Dumbo, I'll have to see. Like a Tim Burton Dumbo could be really amazing, but it could be a little off, you know. But I'm really excited for Aladdin. I'm probably most excited for this out of all of them. The teaser was not enough. I need to see,
that's why
I need to see Jasmine. Yeah. I need to hear the songs. Like, from what I saw was really intriguing, and I just need more. They did a great job, like doing exactly that teasing. So I'm super excited.
I think of the 90s kind of heyday of Disney movies, I think Aladdin kind of tops it for me. So I'm super excited for this. Again, I'm so curious to see how they'll do the genie, like how they'll kind of interpret him in that way.
Like, will it be Will Smith's face? Will it be like
will there be a CGI
element? CGI.
Or how much CGI?
Like,
so I'm really curious to see how they'll pull that off. So that'll be great. The music numbers I'm excited for. It's coming out. We're gonna be in Hawaii when it comes out, and I'm like, you guys, we might have to take a detour to see it when it comes out. So
you lead a hard life over there. I feel like, you get to go to Disneyland and eat all this great food. Go to Hawaii.
Did you go to Japan as well? I thought I saw some photos.
No, we had a friend that went and generously took some pics for us, but one day we'll go to Japan.
Yes.
Very cool.
We're itching to go.
Yes. We actually had a friend who recently also went to Disneyland Paris. So
very cool.
Have people in our network who know our passion and are generous enough to share with us food pictures.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, Jenna, what do you think about the trailer, the teaser?
I second everything Amanda and Kara said. I'm definitely excited for Will Smith to go back to his comedy roots, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and just to have him be funny, because he's had a lot of serious roles recently. I think it's great casting on that part of Will Smith. I am excited. We didn't see any of Jafar, I don't think. So I'm excited to see their take on the villain and their if they're going to stay true to the animated or how they'll either go off into tangents or expand it, how that's all going to work out. I'm excited. So the plot, the extended plot, I'm excited for.
Yeah. And on this side of the table, we talked a little bit about Aladdin when we did our last episode. We actually did the animated Aladdin, so we talked a little bit about our thoughts on all this. And one of the things that I mentioned was that it's kind of nice that in the 90s it was a much different it was a different world, right? So it's nice that now, instead of having like Steve from Full House voice Aladdin, we can have someone that's culturally more appropriate, you know. So I think that some
Canadian.
Of those, yeah, but some of those remakes, I think, really make a lot of sense because they are allowing for a little bit more cultural diversity that makes sense in the, you know, Donny Osmond's not going to be in Mulan, you know, those. That I think is really beneficial. So I'm excited about from this teaser. I do want more, and I think that there's a lot of opportunities for that. You know, Mickey's got a 90th birthday party coming up, so they're gonna have a special on that.
Yes,
we've got Mary Poppins Returns. So I don't know when we're gonna get that trailer, but it's gonna be pretty soon. But what do you guys think about the teaser that came out?
Well, yeah, it's exciting. I mean, there really wasn't a whole lot to it that. You know, it's a teaser trailer. I think Brett and I were on, when we chatted about it earlier, that we were on the kind of our edge of our seats to see if Will Smith would be in it. And then, you know, we're like, okay, understandable. But what I think is interesting is we were kind of chatting, and it sounds like Lion King the remake is going to be in the summer of 2019 as well.
July.
So we're going to have like back-to-back live-action remake releases next year. It's going to be a big summer. It's going to be really interesting to compare them as well, to see how they do.
Avengers 4 in April. Probably April. I guess they haven't officially.
It doesn't have a name yet. We haven't heard yet. Well, anyway.
No. Did you see Mark Ruffalo, though? Somebody asked, what's the name of Avengers 4? And he tweeted back, Avengers 4, register to vote. Like, there's more important things going on right now.
That's great.
But yeah, for sure.
Embarrassment of riches from Disney movies next year, for sure.
Right?
Yay. I did, you know, after I watched the official teaser, then I don't know who did it, but then they had the original teaser, the original trailer, and then the teaser, and they had them next to each other, and they were practically identical, which was interesting because, well, anyway, did you go to D23 Expo? Have you done that?
Yeah. Jen and I went last year,
Yeah, so did I. So when they showed, did you go to the live action when they showed the Lion King? It was very similar to the film as well, the trailer. It's very interesting that they're doing that for both of those. So anyway, I found it interesting. It was comforting and also made you feel like you were excited about whatever's new.
Yeah. So we had to talk about that because it's just so brand new. But let's just dive right into Disneyland because I know you're excited about this conversation.
I know we never get to talk about Disneyland.
We are so Disney World centric, but I want to hear your origin stories. Obviously, you're all sisters, so you've probably known each other your whole life. But how do you go about deciding to start an Instagram page? How do you go about deciding that you wanted it to focus on food? Any of that stuff. What's your origin story for your group?
Well, the origin of our love for Disneyland is our mom's Southern California roots. So we went growing up every summer to stay with our grandpa, and a Disneyland trip was always included.
And In-N-Out. That was like that was always like a big thing where it was like Disneyland in and out, like had to be done.
Yes. So, you know, growing up, we would do these marathon 16-hour Disneyland every summer. Definitely from the time I was about 2.5 until Kara, who's our youngest sister, was probably like a junior or senior in high school. So it was a constant in our lives. And so we always had a love for Disneyland, and it has definitely grown since Amanda and I have moved to Southern California, and then annual passes came into the picture. That once we lived close enough and could, you know, have the finances for annual passes, we've not turned back since.
And Kara Kara went to Northridge, and she had a pass and lived down there as well at one point. So there was a point for like a couple years where we all had passes. And this was pre-Instagram though.
Yeah, and we loved going, but we just kind of loved eating there too.
Yeah.
Kind of like they really upped their game in the last maybe 5-7 years, where they just, you know, before it was just typical theme park food, but the last like 5-7 years they've really upped their game, and it's like a destination now. People love the food, and we just wanted to share that with other people and say, hey, try this new thing or try this seasonal item, and get everyone excited about the food.
All the hidden gems. I think that there's a lot of things that people don't know about. Like there's obviously the standards. Like growing up, every year we would go to this restaurant called Hungry Bear for lunch, every single year without fail. And I don't think we ever realized growing up that there were these other little, you know, obviously like some of them weren't even there, but you know, we kind of stuck to our routine of like, okay, Hungry Bear for lunch, and then like, you know, Rancho del Zocalo for dinner or whatever. But I don't ever really think we got like Dole Whip growing up. We never really experimented.
So I think in adulthood, when we could experiment, we can get the churro, you know. We can't get the churro if we want. We can't get the Mickey bar if we want. So
I also remember one of the first
Cobb on Main Street. What is that? I can't go down the Cobb on Main Street, but anyway, okay.
Yeah. I think, and then there's also like the corn dog wagon.
Oh sure, yeah. It's a classic, yes.
Yeah. So I also think one of the first times that I kind of was like, wow, like Disneyland really has just kind of like experimental food was. We went to Cove Bar for one of our friends' 21st birthdays, which now it's called Lamplight Lounge, but they have these lobster nachos.
Yeah.
I remember we shared those and we were just like, whoa, these are incredible. These are so good. And I remember Jenna and I went, so we slowly, I think, kind of started growing it from there and learning more and experimenting more. And Jenna and I ate there once and a waiter said that they sell more lobster nachos than like any other food in the whole world, which is maybe true, but I take his word for it. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, Kara was actually the one who came up with the name for the Instagram because we were going, like we would go all the time and we would, we were always trying to find new foods and, experimenting new things. And this, I feel like foodies was like, like kind of came into the lexicon, like 3 years ago or so. And Kara was like, we're foodies, but we're like Disneyland foodies. And we were like, wait a second. And so I think
the young one that comes up with the ideas, right?
Yeah. So we kind of just decided to start the Instagram. It was like right before Jenna got married. And then it just kind of like went from there. So 3 years later.
You guys have over 20,000 followers on Instagram, which is pretty incredible.
Crazy.
Yeah, and it's all like we've never like bought followers. I don't even know how you would go about doing that.
We're pretty proud of the fact that we're really organic and grown, and we just love it. So
it's work, but it's fun work.
People can tell that
well, their pictures your photos are gorgeous.
And you do a wonderful job on that.
Oh my gosh!
And also, I think from Disney fan community is just such a cool community to be a part of, and of course, like. The people that listen to our show or maybe follow your Instagram, they know about things like the food is so great at these Disney parks. But other people do assume that it's like going to a Six Flags and getting nacho cheese on something, or whatever the case may be. But I think what's cool about something like what you're doing is that we can sit here in the 40-degree heat of the Midwest and we can see this wonderful food in beautiful pictures, and it just brings that little touch of Disney. So whether you're listening to a podcast or on a Facebook group or looking at an Instagram page, like that's what's really cool about the fan community, and it's always so positive. There's so much negativity in the world right now, and it just seems like it's always tends to be the Disney people are fairly positive people.
Always.
So have you watched Pollyanna yet? There was we had a movie throwdown because I had not seen Inside Out, which was kind of a thing for a while. Well, I did see Inside Out. So the thing was, I'll see Inside Out if he watches Pollyanna. Have you watched Pollyanna?
Not yet.
No, it's a classic.
Yeah.
It's an old school sort of classic. It's still it passes the tear test at the very end, so if not before.
So let's start getting into some of the questions we wanted to ask you guys about Disneyland. And no, Brett, you have a few, so let's start with yours.
Okay, well, what are your favorite food or restaurant experiences that you've had at Disneyland?
We can
where and what, and it can be you can have like my favorite snack or my favorite sit down restaurant or. Whatever. I have some too.
How much time do you have? We could literally be here.
I know.
Well, I'll try to keep mine short. One for sure, this is a little sentimental, but I actually got proposed to at Disneyland.
Oh, that's awesome.
and
Major points.
Pardon?
Major points.
Oh yeah, well, good job, Derek, my husband. So proposed to at Disneyland, and then we had Blue Bayou reservations.
Oh, sure. Yes.
So that actually is like our first and only trip to eat at Blue Bayou. So it's very cool for those who don't know, which I'm sure most do. It's the restaurant inside of Pirates of the Caribbean at the Disneyland Resort. So you are sitting there on the waterfront and the boats are going by, and the restaurant itself is really cool, but I don't know. Of course, I think it's a little extra special.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Always will be.
Any particular dish or anything from Blue Bayou that you remember? What did you guys have that night?
I think I had like surf and turf.
Surf and turf. You know, it's one of the more upscale restaurants. So surf and turf is offered, and then I think, you know, some sort of like maybe chocolate lava cake for dessert or something like that. You can never go wrong with that, in my opinion. So that's definitely my best Disneyland food experience.
Yeah. Oh gosh. We've had the pleasure of being able to go to Club 33 a few times. So
oh, they know people. Oh,
yeah.
They know people.
So we've had, we were very fortunate to be able to go a few times. The first time we went as a family, like our parents came with us and we had lunch there. And it was just, I remember we were like losing our minds. Like you take this they've since renovated it. This was about 15 years ago when we went, but there was like this like old timey elevator that you took to go upstairs. And I remember there was like Mickey shaped pasta. And I just thought that was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
So that was great. And then there was another time where we went and had a really late dinner reservation, and it was around Christmas time. And like our reservation was literally at like 9 p.m. And it's like a 7-course meal. So we were there until 2 in the morning. I'm not even joking. And we literally had to have like someone like escort us out of the park. And he was like, I'm supposed to tell you to like not take photos, but you can if you want. And so to be able to just like walk through the park in the dead of night, no one else there. And
it's so quiet, and you can hear all the music in all the different lands and how different it is. And you don't notice that really during the day when it's busy, but when you're there at night and it's so quiet, you can hear the music, and it's just so magical.
Well, and it's nice too because the food is actually good too. So I think that.
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 A kicker. I had this pumpkin creme brulee that I like still dream about. So those are probably
perfect for right now.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Kara?
For me, it's hard. For me, I love just being on Main Street. So I think eating at Carnation Cafe or Plaza Inn, I always feel really like connected to Walt and like a crazy psycho Disney fan. Because you know they have Walt's favorite dishes on the menu at Carnation, and you just like, oh, Walt was here, and you just feel so nostalgic. And I just love Main Street. I think that's such a hardcore Disney moment for me. So I really like eating at the Plaza Inn for the fried chicken too. So
incredible.
Wow. Okay, I've never had that. I know everyone says it's so good. So it is that good.
Okay. It is good.
Usually, like if people are like, if you could only eat one thing in the park, I tell them to eat that.
And and you can definitely split it too. That's kind of our pro tip.
Oh, sure.
That's how we eat so much. Is we like split. We'll get one dish and split it. So we'll have like 3 lunches. We'll have like 3 lunches.
Yeah. Nice. And I mean, it's such a good way to try things out. And that's we just got back from Disney World. Actually, we just did a trip report. It just dropped on our feed, so you can hear all about our Disney World trip. But not yet, just me. Sorry. She's going to be at Disney World tomorrow.
Wow.
She's leaving us here.
Wow.
So jealous.
But that's one of the best things, because people kept asking us about the dining plan at Disney World and things, but it's kind of cool just to be able to go and split things and just be able to share foods, and you get that experience of trying a bunch of different things. Disney's completely fine with you splitting plates and all that. They're not gonna look down on you at all or anything like that. So it's just a really cool experience. So now, Brett, you've been out there. What's your favorite?
Ooh, Oh yeah, again, hours and hours and hours. Actually, my favorite go-to place, okay, is the corn chowder in Farmers Market in
Ooh.
New Orleans Square.
Yeah.
I know. That's my. I
The
love
French
that.
market, you mean?
I'm sorry.
French market?
Yes, the French market. Yes,
Yes.
sorry, French market.
We're used to farmers here.
I'm sorry. The French market. Yes, the French market in New Orleans Square. Yes, and I have that every time. I was just thinking today. It had absolutely like the perfect moment that I don't know if I can ever recreate. But I went there, and it was probably it was cool out. So that could be any time at night anyway in Southern California. But I remember it was on a weekend. I had my corn chowder, the jazz trio were playing, and it was like I was like going to go to Fantasmic that night, but I got that one little moment to have this. It was just a brisk air, and to have this corn chowder and to listen to the jazz, do Anything Goes, which is a really good show that I've been in. So I'm like going, jazz version of Anything Goes. You go with that. Let me have my soup. It was so good. So anyways, that's one of my favorites. But I did have a really, it was not a Club 33, even though I think I do know someone, and I'm thinking that might happen sometime soon. But I went with my friend Cindy to the chef's table at Napa Rose.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, have you done that?
Not yet.
Not yet. That's on our list.
It was
Napa Rose is great. I've eaten there more than once. I don't know if they have, but even the lounge at Napa Rose and their bread basket is amazing. Yeah. Even the bread basket.
Everything is so good. Yeah. Well, I was kind of having a reunion with my friend Cindy, who works at Disney Imagineering, and because we worked at Walt Disney World together a while back, and I hadn't seen her forever. So we were playing catch up, and then Chef Andrew Sutton is telling us all about dinner, and I'm like going, I don't know which is more cool, to see my friend Cindy and catch up, but I'm like going, this is Andrew Sutton, and he's telling us everything about the food that they're preparing. So it was an amazing evening. That was great.
So Vanessa and I, admittedly, have not traveled out to Anaheim, and I'm definitely going to get there. We aren't like Walt Disney World elitists. We just need to get money so we can go down there. But
it's not cheap. It's not cheap.
But so if I walk into Disneyland, first of all, any just general overall tips that you have, that's just like a quick tip about something that may be different from Walt Disney World. And then secondly, I'm a dessert guy. So what dessert am I getting if I walk in there? So if you want to go around and give some answers to those two questions.
Annie, you want to kick us
off? I will give you a park tip, and my park tip is Max Pass.
Yeah.
Right. That makes sense, because they don't have the fast pass system like Walt Disney World. You don't have to go on 60 days in advance and be up at whatever time in the morning. But so Max Pass, it basically allows you to book fast passes from an app in your phone.
Correct. And it's really cool because you're able to book a fast pass for either park, no matter where you are, as long as you're scanned in.
Cool. Okay.
So say Disneyland is your park entry for the day. You're going there first, but you want to make sure that you ride Guardians of the Galaxy. As soon as you're scanned in, even though you're in Disneyland, you can pull up the fast passes available in either park, so you have the opportunity to book your passes for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. That's really cool.
And it's not like Disney World where you only have 3 a day, or you can book as many as you want, and you can get so much done with Max Pass.
What, really $10 a day or something like that?
$10 per person per day. Yeah.
But that's so affordable too. I mean,
that's
it's not like
cheap.
It's not like they're.
Oh my gosh!
And the time that you're saving.
It's so.
It's worth it, even if you're a family or something. It can add up, but we really think it's worth it.
And I'm guessing most people know this, but just in case you don't, because you listen to us and we talk so much about Disney World, but California Adventure and Disneyland, they basically share the same like hub area, and the entrances are right on each side. So like it's such a walkable place, right?
It is.
You can literally park hop very easily.
Park hopping is much easier. Yeah.
Like I can't tell you how many times we go back and forth throughout the day we're there all day, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Any other general tips or desserts that I should be eating when I get out there?
Sure, I'll give you a dessert recommendation. It's actually something that's fairly new to the park, but they're pretty in high demand. Are the Disneyland donuts?
Oh,
okay.
So a donut is definitely a treat that can be had breakfast, lunch, dinner, all day. Whenever you have a fancy a donut, you can go for it. They do have limited quantities, and they do change the flavors weekly, I think. So one of the things that Amanda and I like to do when we're at the parks regularly is kind of do a drive-by of the Disneyland cart there. So it's cool that they change them all the time. The flavors are usually really good. We've had, I think our most recent donut we got was this like lemon one, and it literally had like cookies on it. It was like a donut with cookies. So they really plus them up. They really kind of get creative with their flavors and stuff like that, and they're always very Instagrammable. So
is that a requirement of any food that you eat there, that it has to look great on a purple wall or something?
It kind of is.
It's definitely hard when you're trying to take a picture of something. You're like, this tasted really good, but it's not it's not really appetizing, like appealing. Yeah.
Take a picture of your smile. This is good,
What's the purple wall of Disneyland? I'm sure they have something, right?
Oh, we have a couple.
There's a couple.
Okay.
The Small World wall.
They've been really leaning into like Instagram culture.
Yeah,
so sure. They've had like, the Buzz Lightyear wall. Right now they have like a Coco wall where you have like these giant wings. That's really the up wall where you have a bunch of balloons. It looks like you're flying away, and
it's really cool.
They're really leaning into like those Instagram moments.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's so funny to me that like they had all these kind of places where you could take your photos, and they weren't even really thinking of like Instagram or social media like when they were doing it. Like obviously when they were building the park years and years ago, like they wanted to like look nice in photos, but now it's like really like, okay, like how can we get people to
the classic one is the blue wall. I think that's what started all the blue wall in California Adventure kind of back lot. That's where a lot of people took their pictures, and I think that's when they were like, oh, people are posting on Instagram. It
has its own Instagram account.
I think I think there's also a wall by Small World that a lot of people like. It's like white and gold and has kind of like geometric shapes on it. So but I guess in terms of tips and a dessert, so my tip, and this might be something that you guys already know, but I feel like I try to emphasize this as much as I can when talking to people. Rope drop. Get there early.
Amen.
Yeah, get there early. It's so nice and quiet, and not quiet, but it's just, less crowded, less people. I remember there was one year, maybe when we were like in middle school or something, where we literally went on 10 rides in an hour. And granted, some of them were like dark rides, Fantasyland rides, but still, I think you can just get so much done when you get there early, and you can walk on to a ton of rides. And
now, if you're staying at any of the Disneyland hotels that are connected, right, you get an hour early admission to the park as well?
We have extra magic hours.
Days. They kind of alternate back and forth.
And a dessert. I want to pick something that's like more Disneyland centric, because I think some desserts they have at both parks, excuse me. But I would say, where was it? I had it pulled up.
I hope you don't say what I'm going to say.
Oh, okay. You go first.
Okay.
Say what you were going to say.
Do your tip. I don't really have any. I think they pretty much covered it with the tips. But my favorite dessert, I haven't had it in a while, which is such a tragedy. Churro funnel cake.
Oh,
do you guys still have
Hungry Bear?
It's
yes,
a Hungry Bear.
Hungry Bear, yeah.
And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a funnel cake that tastes like a churro. It has cinnamon sugar all over it, and whipped cream that they have is just. It's amazing. Probably just regular whipped cream from the store. It just, for some reason, tastes so good to me.
Yeah. So the treat that I can think of that's kind of more Disneyland specific is a newer one. I will say this isn't like my number one favorite treat, but I think if you're coming from Disney World, I would, because like we're going to Disney World in a few weeks, and so I want to try things that like, we don't have at Disneyland. So the Jack Jack cookie num num from the it's this huge, really warm chocolate chip cookie. But if you really want to, take it up a notch, you split up, whoever you're with. One person goes to Ghirardelli, gets a scoop of vanilla ice cream. One person gets the Jack Jack cookie num num. You meet in the middle, two things together, and it is so good. It's really just, it's kind of like a pizookie. It's just really delicious.
Yeah. Well, by the way, for whatever reason, we lost your webcam, so we are only getting audio. So if I call any of you by the wrong name, I think I know your voices at this point, but just bear with me there. I apologize.
No worries.
I know that we could definitely talk about Disneyland in particular for a long time, but I'm gonna let Vanessa ask a question if you have one.
I just need to have the Disneyland foodies weigh in on this topic. It's
okay. This is a big one for us. I'm glad I'm sitting in between these two because
controversial.
I'm nervous.
Yeah, it's very controversial. So go for it.
Okay. Do you like turkey legs?
Oh, okay. I'm going to answer for us as the older sister.
Yeah.
It is a unanimous and emphatic no.
Yeah.
Oh, I love you so much.
We understand, we understand it. It's an iconic treat.
Yeah.
It's an iconic snack at Disney, but it's just not for us.
I think it's a touch overrated. I will say though, hear me out. I had a turkey leg from California Adventure a couple years ago, and I liked it. I was like, wow, this is really good. It was my first one that I had ever had. I had one from Disneyland like a year ago, and I was like, this is not good.
It was a greasy mess.
I think it can be kind of hit or miss. Like, I think sometimes you can get a really tasty one, and then I think sometimes you can get one that's like not as great. So it's a gamble for sure. But I had one and enjoyed it once. So I just once.
I have a problem with people liking it. I just don't want to watch them eat it.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm like, seriously, I'm like going,
not Instagrammable.
Not.
Yeah.
I think that's my new plan, is to start my own Instagram page with you guys not involved, and it will be me eating turkey legs.
Celebrate.
One thing I learned at Disneyland is that you can get your Dole Whip and you can take it inside. I didn't know that you could take it inside to watch the Tiki Room. So I do that now. Thanks to a
Tiki
friend.
Room does allow food and drink.
That is awesome.
It was originally going to be a restaurant.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, any other last minute things about this topic before we dive into our movie, or anything else that you wanted to mention about your Instagram account, or anything that you're doing, how best people can follow you, all that? I want you to get your plugs in, and then we can do all that again at the end. But before we dive into Hocus Pocus here.
Yeah, I guess so. One hidden gem that I want to give everybody. This is something that we learned a couple years ago that has served us well. It's under construction right now until January, but the Whitewater Snacks at the Grand Californian, it's kind of their restaurant by the pool. It's kind of quick service. It is so great. It's really quiet. It's like never busy. And they have this really good carnitas burger. It's like out of this world, carnitas nachos. And so that's a nice place where if you kind of are like, oh my God, the park is really busy. I need to sit down. I need to take a breather. That is like one of my hidden gems for sure.
They also have breakfast.
They also have breakfast
which is good. Pre-park stop. And the Grand Californian, where Whitewater Snacks is located, is very near to the California Adventure entrance from the Grand Californian. So it's kind of
easy to sneak in kind of thing.
Very cool.
Kind of slide in the back door there.
Very, very cool. Awesome. Well, we will be right back, and then we will start talking about Hocus Pocus.
Yay.
And we're back. So it's so nice to be able to talk this movie with such great Disney fans, because this is a film. Obviously, we've already covered it once on the Front Row Network. It's just one of those films that, to me, is just a perfect encapsulation of what Disney was in their live action films in the 90s. And it brings about Halloween in such a perfect way that is able to introduce Halloween and All Hallows Eve to younger kids, but then also adults. Just loved watching this movie over and over and over again. We're sitting here on October 13th, and Freeform has already shown this movie 65,000 times.
In fact, it's on right now.
It is on right now. If you turn Freeform on anytime during the month of October, you probably are watching Hocus Pocus. So I'm excited to get into this. I'm going to let our guests go first and just give me your first impressions of this film. When was the first time you watched it? Do you remember was it like an instant classic for you that you had to go back to, or was it just something that has grown on you over time? So we'll let you go in any order you'd like, but go ahead and give me your first impressions on Hocus Pocus.
I'll start. So I guess for me, this movie came out when I was really young, so it's always been a part of, my life pretty much. And
part of your world?
Oh, yeah.
That's another movie for another time.
Yeah.
Did it put a spell on you?
Oh, okay. Let the guests talk.
Okay, sorry.
It's just, I think it's always been a classic for me. And one thing that's really interesting about it that I watched it last week, and I kind of noticed, like, this is kind of edgy for Disney.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In a weird kind of, you could watch it and almost not know it's a Disney movie because I feel it's a little edgier. It's a little creepier, I think they say the word virgin 400,000 times.
Yeah.
And so
like the
me,
Sarah Jessica Parker kind of innuendos.
And Sarah, the innuendos, things like that is like with the bus driver and things like that. So I think it's kind of good for adults. Like it's carried over into adulthood for me, where it's still like a classic. So.
Yeah, you kind of get some of those things. And I mean, Disney sprinkles those in every now and then, because I'm going back and watching Toy Story with my 2-year-old. And Toy Story has some moments in it where it's just kind of like, as a kid, you totally didn't notice that, like, little Bo Peep and Woody were talking about, shacking up for the night in that. But, it is a little bit edgier for Disney audience for sure. But I think that is kind of some of the appeal that's brought it to be able to be what it is 25 years later and still really relevant in our Halloween culture and Halloween tradition now, which is really cool.
I remember watching this movie when it first came out. It came out in 1993, so I was, about 8 years old. And I remember watching it with our neighbor, like at the time, and I remember laughing about it because in the scene where Emily is supposed to like have the life sucked out of her and then they throw a blanket on her, if you watch really closely, like her knees are moving. So when you're a little kid, you're like, haha, like look at that mistake. So I definitely remember watching it like young. I don't, ever remember being scared of it. So it wasn't anything I shied away from, but I have watched that movie countless times. Super iconic, it never gets old. Like you said, it's been on Freeform 65,000 times. I'll watch it in part or in whole anytime I see it on. So super big fan. And I definitely think it's a good topic for us being 3 sisters. Three sisters.
Yeah.
Yes. Have you guys ever dressed up in costume as them?
No. But we should. I know we keep every year. We're like, let's go to Mickey's Not So Scary. Let's go to Mickey's Not So Scary, and we never get around to it. But I think next year we definitely want.
And great costume idea.
Yeah, great costume idea.
I feel like a lot of my memories with Hocus Pocus kind of center around being at like sleepovers. Like I feel like this was always a movie that, like a big group of girls like watching it. And, that's kind of like my main, like I don't really ever remember seeing it for the first time or anything, but it's just kind of something that is like synonymous like with my childhood.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny, I love that Bette Midler loved filming this movie, because I think a lot of times with kind of cult classic type things like this, although now I feel like it's mainstream, it's not necessarily a cult classic anymore, but it was for a time, because I feel like a lot of times with movies like this, people are like, ugh, like, please don't ask me about that. That's the only thing people ever talk to me about. And they can kind of learn to want to stray away from it. But I love that she loves it so much. I think that it helps Wick with the legacy of it and everything. But yeah, I don't really remember being scared of it either. I think, I mean, maybe Billy Butcherson was a little scary, but yeah, and just like the music is so fun. And I have this one memory though of that scene where what's the girl, like, what's not his sister, Allison. I cannot think of her name. I can remember the actress's name, but not her name. So, but Allison, when she walks away and like puts up that red hood, I remember when I was little, always being like thinking that she was like evil or something. You know,
nice.
little moments that I just always remember thinking that. But yeah, it's such a classic. It's very rewatchable. I feel like it's weirdly timeless in a way. Like you could kind of watch it now. And it's, I mean, obviously set in the 90s, but I don't know.
And they tell you over and over again. It's 1993. It's 1993.
I still think it's like weirdly timeless.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think the only thing that makes it a little less timeless, probably Jay and Ice.
Yes.
Because I mean, although their fashions are coming back, but I love this, especially you guys living in California. Do you ever, don't you just love what he's just like, Hollywood? Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know, like, and you guys always just wear tie-dye? Is that what you do?
I'm a big fan.
Constantly in tie-dye?
Yeah. I like those two, the little bullies. I think they're a fun way to kind of break up the story a little bit and make some fun of it.
Yeah.
So.
For sure, but Evil Allison, I think Kenny Ortega should be listening, and then that way we can get this going for the sequel. You know, she could be the descendant of the Sanderson sisters or something. I don't know.
If only Kenny Ortega was directing the sequel.
Well,
all of that's a whole nother.
But Brett, what are your first impressions of this iconic film?
Ooh, I don't think we want to go back to my first impressions. It's grown over the years. Let's see.
Were you a cast member still when this came out?
I was. Okay. Yeah, I was a cast member at Walt Disney World, so I saw it, excuse me, at the time at Pleasure Island 12. And
oh my gosh.
I know. So anyway, Pleasure Island 12. And it was, I was expecting so much, and I came out a little less than satisfied. But since that time, you know, it's become this classic that we get to see, you know, year after year, and especially now that it's 25th anniversary. In fact, in preparation for today, I did watch. I thought I had it, but I did not. So I purchased the iTunes $9.99 for the 25th anniversary edition, and it has all of these pop-up facts and alternative scenes and behind-the-scenes information and pop-up things. Actually, they do count the number of times they use the word virgin, and it pops up there. And then also, and then you can also, it's time for a spell. There was another thing, it was time for a memorable quote. It'd go 3, 2, 1, and then there would be the memorable quote. That's then also you could, instead of like sing along with, you could spell along with them. So every time there was a spell. So I very much enjoyed watching that yesterday. And I think also because it was the film in its entirety, I think we're so used to watching on a television and on freeform. I think sometimes, you know, it's edited for time or whatever. So there are scenes that I don't remember seeing, you know, in the various replays that I've watched. So I enjoyed it very much. And so that was, and you learn so many things I didn't know, like each of the sisters, not like you, I would guess, I don't know. But anyway, that each sister had a different father. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Each and so let's see. And so Winifred's father was a warlock, and let's see, Kathy Najimy or Mary's father was a dog.
Oh my God! What?
Yes, that's why she has all this. That's why. Yes, so her father was a dog.
Oh my!
That was weird. And then Sarah's was the town idiot.
So that makes sense too.
So so I never knew that, you know. And then so you watch that now and go, oh yeah. And the other thing that I found so much fun is that, let's see, when there's a scene, because it took place, they filmed it at the Paramount farm or something. Anyway, that's what they called it. And the Friends fountain from the opening is in the movie, so it's fun.
Yeah, it's when they're like celebrating burning the witch.
Oh yeah, they're at the school or something.
And they burn.
Yeah, so there was there's the fountain in the corner. I'm like going, oh look, there's the Friends people frolicking. Anyway, so it was great to watch it again. I guess in preparation of this, and then also it's become a classic. The other thing is that at Walt Disney World, the Hocus Pocus Spectacular is so good. Mickey's not so scary.
Have you guys seen that?
No, we're just going to Halloween time. We're going right after Halloween. We're going.
Well, you can watch it on YouTube, and it's spectacular.
I'll watch that later.
It's really, really, really awesome.
For sure.
Yes, go to the 1995 version because that was 2015 version. Sorry, the 2015 version because that was the first year, and I think kind of the best cast. Just my opinion.
It's no.
Vanessa, some thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I was thinking back to, I don't remember the first time I watched it, but I distinctly remember thinking Sarah Jessica Parker was just so pretty, and I wanted to look like her. I wanted to be funny and sing like Winifred, and then I wanted to have Kathy and Jimmy's vacuum cleaner. And I like that's the one thing I remember doing is trying to like ride around on the vacuum cleaner, but those things are made out of plastic. They are really heavy, so that did not work for me. But as an adult, looking back, what I think my favorite scene is, even watching last night, was when Gary Marshall and Penny Marshall come in as husband and wife, which is just like makes you laugh because we know they're brother and sister. And, gosh, they're just so funny.
And talk about an adult scene in this movie.
Yeah. You know? But it kind of breaks up the tension in the film. There's these moments of funny scenes where it's not all cynical. It's like actually really humorous. Mm-hmm. And yes, that is adults. And then when Sarah, oh my gosh, and Sarah Jessica Parker says, "Thou shalt not talk to master." It's such a oh my gosh, that made me laugh so hard. Gary Marshall.
Yeah, it's so fantastic. So fun. But we're really bad about time always. But I've already almost close to an hour here, and we haven't even dived into the scenes and things like that. So gonna ask that we kind of have briefer discussion about some of our favorite scenes because we do want to talk about that. And I will just begin with my favorite scene, and it's in the high school where Max is going like, "Welcome to high school hell," and they're guiding them into the kiln, and there's like that foreign language tape that's playing the French tape.
Bibliothèque.
Yes, absolutely, and just that whole like that payoff of when they come out and they're repeating the lines over and over again.
On French.
Oh,
that was so much fun.
So Bette Midler is so perfect in that moment. I mean, she's perfect all the time, but that moment she's just so absolutely perfect. It's just so wonderful. But that it kind of helps, like you said, bring the humor into this film that could be kind of scary for kids, right? And that's kind of a grim thing that they're doing. They're trying to burn these witches alive, but Disney found a way to make that humorous in a way and make it work with that. But go ahead and give me some of your favorite scenes.
Well, I think, of course, everyone's favorite scene is I Put a Spell on You. Of course. Yes. That's a great one. And I love Zachary. I'm a cat person, so I love all the scenes.
Now, do you ever think it was just Zachary with like a lisp? Or something like that when you were a little kid?
I probably thought his name was Zachary when I was a kid. Then you look it up on the internet and you're like, oh, it's Zachary. So I always thought Binks was really cute. So those are probably my favorites.
Jenna, I'm still trying to brainstorm on mine. It's hard to pick.
Well, you can never go wrong with My Name Ain't Ernie No More. It's Ice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ice.
Great. They're such great characters. You wish that, like, I'm such a Kevin Smith fan. It's like I wish that like Jay and Silent Bob and Jay and Ernie would meet. I think that would be so but yeah, they are so good, aren't they?
They're really funny. So kind of anytime they pop up, and then we see them again during the trick or treating scene, and they kind of like, and Danny like stands up for herself when they try to take her candy, and she's like, "My brother's gonna take her yes. And then here he comes and he's like, oh no, it's the guys from earlier. So bringing it full circle with them is funny. And then I also think it's funny when they are kind of kidnapped by the witches and put in those cages.
Yeah.
So then they're sort of in this predicament. It's like they're getting, they're getting punished, I guess, for being the bully because they think they can say anything to anybody. And then here come the witches and like they're messing with the wrong group, So so that again is funny. And even like Max gets his shoes back in the end. And so definitely anytime that Ice and Jay are on screen.
Yeah.
Oh, they're just so good. Those actors, they really award-worthy performances in that movie for sure. Yeah, any other scenes that people want to just throw out there and talk about?
I mean, it's hard to pick. I will say, so I actually went to Freeform, did the Halloween House pop-up last weekend, where they kind of recreated scenes from Hocus Pocus and Nightmare Before Christmas. So I went to that. So it was really cool.
Oh my gosh.
You could literally, there was a button you could press to like light the black flame candle. And so some people it would light, some people it wouldn't light for. Like my roommate, it didn't light for her, but it lit for me. So I was like, oh, I guess I'm more pure.
Pure in spirit.
But so that was really fun. There was like literally you could sit in the cages that Ernie and Ice sit in.
That is so cool.
And there was like the big cauldron, the book. So I don't know. It was for me. It's hard to pick, but being able to kind of step inside those scenes, and I think they did a good job of picking the most kind of memorable, iconic moments. So that was really great.
I'll mention this because it's my wife's favorite movie, a moment of the movie, or one of hers that she always comes back to. But when they're starting to talk about lighting the black flame candle, and Max is like, "Well, Allison, do you want to light it?" And she's like, no. So we've always taken that to mean like, maybe she's,
perhaps.
Maybe
anyway.
Gabos have gotten around. I don't know. It was really funny. But no, that's a really cool that you're able to like kind of live through that, and that's a really neat experience.
I heard it was sold out.
It was. We got there at a good time where we waited in a little bit of a line to get.
Lost you a little bit. Are you still there? Can you go look at the time and see where it's at on time? Oh no.
But
so we broke up a little bit there. Do you mind repeating back what you had just said?
Sure. So I just being able to go to the Freeform house and kind of step into those moments was just really cool as a Disney fan and as a Hocus Pocus fan, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So how about you? You've got some favorites?
So I have a particular line that I really love, where they just sucked the life out of Emily. And Sarah says, "I'm beautiful. Boys will love me." Mary says, "We're young." And then Winifred says, "Well, younger." because in real life, that is, older than those two. And I just think that's so funny how they were able to, skirt around her being so much older than the other two leading ladies. That was really funny. And I also love any time they reference Bet's stardom, where I think Mary tells her she's divine.
Yes.
And of course she's the divine Miss M, or in the I Put a Spell on You, she says, "My name's Winifred, what's yours?" Mm-hmm. And that same year, 1993, she starred in Gypsy on the TV version, which is a very classic line, "My name's Rose, what's yours?" So, I just love those moments because they're so funny when you understand the real life context of those three and their stardom at the time.
Yeah. And I want to call out Omri Katz because he didn't do much after this, but I like Max in this movie. He does a good job of playing that like every boy's boy who is just super nervous around the girl, does get bullied a little bit, but still tries to like fight back. But then in the end is just really there for his sister when needed. So, you know, pull on your heartstrings a little bit. But I think that him in particular, he did a really great job. Obviously, the three leading ladies, there's no comparison there, and that's what worries me about any sequels or any future projects, just because knowing that, you know.
However, so I feel the same way. I felt very, very angry when you have these three wonderful ladies who will come back and do the movie.
To do it.
But when I looked at the IMDb page, which I think was recently updated for Hocus Pocus 2, I think it's got Tina Fey and Melissa McCarthy working on it. And I mean, those are today's you know, hilarious.
Well, I think that they're writing it, right? Aren't they?
I don't know what exactly. It's like something of the Elder Witch, Return of the Elder Witch, or something. But you know, they are very funny. So if it's going to be a completely different spinoff, I'm at least glad it's in their hands.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Okay, sure. On toast. Anyway, that's my favorite line. Oh, I've always wanted children. On toast. Anyway, I watched that yesterday. Made me laugh. So.
Yeah. Any other scenes, things that we want to talk about?
It was just classic. Just watching them, and again, these pop-ups were so cool because some of them really liked to fly, and some of them didn't like to fly. And Sarah Jessica Parker liked to fly so much that they just put her up there, and she said, "I read a script when I was there." She loved it, and the others, you know, it was great. So if you can catch the pop-up version, you know, the new 25th anniversary, and if you're a fan, you'll enjoy it even that much more.
Absolutely.
Haha, plug in. Hello, Disney. So,
here's kind of the other side of the coin. Are there moments in this film that, whether through plot, through acting, whatever, that just weren't your favorite? And I know that we all love this film so much, so I'm going to say, what's your least favorite moment of the film? And I'm going to start with Vanessa.
Okay, Yavos, really? And not only do we have to say that word, we say it twice. What's happening? It's the most uncomfortable moment in the whole film for me. I don't know how our guests feel about it. I'll ask you guys. What do you think?
Agree. Yeah. It's meant to be kind of a comedic thing, but
so awkward.
A little awkward, a little cringy.
I have another awkward moment in the movie. I don't like the scene where after the teacher tells the story of the Sanderson sisters and there's the exchange with Max in the classroom with Allison, and she kind of like puts him in his place when he gives her his phone number and he's like, well, in case Jimi Hendrix shows up, here's my number. He does it in front of the entire class.
Yeah.
That's just, that would not be done. That is not real life.
Yeah.
That would only but it is, I think it's really awkward.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think I read in like a BuzzFeed article the other day or something, but they kind of had a moment, or it was like movie lines that are uncomfortable or whatever. And the one line was like when she's like, "Oh, kiss me, I'm Allison," and it's like, that's your brother. Like, just no.
And Danny says,
yeah, it's just like, maybe don't do that. I don't know.
That's another company, by the way, that I think Hocus Pocus, they're like, that is their business for October. It's like Freeform and BuzzFeed are set every October. It's like they can come up with never-ending lists of things about Hocus Pocus for sure. You know, it's hard for me to call out like a least favorite moment, because I really do. Just like watching this film, there's so many little moments that are just really fun. But you know, it's difficult for me. The only thing that takes me out of the film is when they go into the museum and it's got these cobwebs as if it hasn't been opened for 200 years. And then you look at it and like the Zippos are still working on there's like lemon heads on the counter. And it's like, wait a minute, if it's been abandoned for seemingly decades.
Well, I think they just closed it for a while.
Well, but I mean, I haven't gone down in my basement for a while and there's no cobwebs like that. You know, like, so it just, I think maybe the set person got a little overzealous with the cobwebs maybe. And that's just me as an adult. I would have never thought that as a kid, but it is one of those things where it takes me out of it for just a second because I'm like, well, if this is supposed to be some abandoned hotel or museum, why does it look like this? And then why does it still have all this stuff here? Wouldn't they have sent someone in to go get it? So that's just me.
Another nitpicky thing that I kind of noticed rewatching it recently is the end scene and like the cemetery scenes feel very soundstagey. Like I feel like you look at it and you're like, they're on a soundstage. And again, I think it's something that I've like worked in production a little bit, and you know, the more movies you watch, you just kind of realize like, oh, that's very soundstagey.
Well, and it's a matte. Well, they were saying that the ending is a matte painting in the back. You know, when they're walking down the, you know, something like that. I think it was interesting. Technology. It's switching the topic just a little bit, but Binks is the first CGI use. Well, the first use of CGI in movies.
Oh.
In movies, just
Mhm.
period.
Mm-hmm.
That is interesting. I didn't know that.
This is a groundbreaking movie.
Yeah.
So there. So if we didn't have Binks, we wouldn't have
Thackeray.
We wouldn't have Jar Jar later. Anyway, sorry. So.
Way to break that. But you know, there's so much more to talk about with this film, and I know that you know, we could talk about this for hours and hours and hours.
So we
and
have
hours,
new
but I'm
friends.
sure that and we could definitely continue to talk about it for hours and hours. But are there other moments in the film that you want to talk about, or just we'll get into legacy of the film and kind of where we're thinking about with the sequel here in a minute, but just other moments in the film that you really enjoy or you wanted to call out?
A little bit of trivia.
Yeah.
I know you said you were reading the IMDb, and I was too. I thought it was cool that Sarah Jessica Parker was on the TLC show Who Do You Think You Are, where they go back in your family tree, and her great 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 grandma or whoever was actually charged with being a witch in Salem, Massachusetts.
Oh.
Has the witch connection all the way back.
Wow.
Roots. So I thought that was pretty cool, and she really loved that as well. So I thought that was a fun little bit of trivia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting too, because you know, Kathy, kind of going off that, that's kind of one of the reasons why Kathy and Jimmy didn't want to do this film. Same with Rosie O'Donnell actually said no. She didn't want to be viewed as a mean witch, but Kathy and Jimmy specifically, she was concerned with perpetuating a stereotype of women being witches, because I think, you know, back then a lot of the women who were accused were like midwives and in that kind of nature. So to hear that Sarah Jessica Parker's own family member went through that, obviously she didn't know her, but it seems to me from the interview that she feels it's really changed her perspective on how she views herself. So that was just, yeah, it was really interesting about how these actresses are relating to the history of witches in America and how it relates to that particular film. So.
Well, now that you mentioned the Rosie O'Donnell potential casting, do you all know who was up for Max for a minute? Who they offered it to?
Leonardo.
Yeah. And you know, that same year he went and just got nominated for an Oscar or whatever. So, yeah. And What's Eating Gilbert Grape. So
you choices,
know,
careers.
Those are choices that were made. So, but we could have had little Leo.
Well, it took him a while to get that Oscar. Maybe he could have gotten it for Hocus Pocus. You know,
Right.
Who knows?
Look at the illustrious career of Omri Katz. I'm so sorry, Omri, if you're listening.
He made his choices and he's happy with his life, and that's a good thing.
We absolutely love you. So any other moments in this film that you want to talk about, or anything that
I'm going to go watch it again right now. No.
You know, it's one of those
one last thing. I remember thinking that witch chocolate lollipop always looked so delicious. I want to take a snapshot.
Oh yeah, it's
a
food item.
The party looked fun too at Allison's parents' house. Yeah,
and even the one where they performed, I'm like, I want to go to a Halloween party like that. That looks like fun.
I know, at like City Hall or whatever. My city's not that cool.
No, our city needs to get on it.
Yeah,
for sure. So let's talk about, we've mentioned that it is a classic and it's iconic and all of those words. It's got a rich legacy, especially with Disney fans. But we are moving into an area where, because it's so popular and because it's lived on, we are thinking about sequels and we're thinking about spin-offs and stuff like that. So what are your thoughts on all that? Are you concerned a bit that it might miss out on some of the authenticity that was Hocus Pocus to begin with, or are you totally for it? Do you want to live more in this world and you're really excited about all this?
Well, I liked Vanessa's input. Actually, I hadn't read that on IMDb about any sequel coming up, but taking it on a totally different direction. That would be like the only way I would be okay with a sequel. Okay. Of course, unless like Bette Midler and everybody, like either give me like the same cast or something else completely different. Like don't recast Sarah, don't recast Mary, but leave the others, as who they were in the first movie. So I would be for it with some contingencies, I guess.
Okay, I agree. I'm like going. Yeah. I mean, I didn't mind the newer Ghostbusters, like on its own, from a woman's point of view or, female perspective. I thought it was fun, but I'm like going, and that's kind of like taking a classic movie and reinterpreting it. But I think it's very, the audience loves this so much, they have to be very careful. And so, and, well, maybe we'll all be surprised.
And they have to remember too, like, we do like villains. Like if they make the villains too mean or unlikable, I don't think the film's going to do as well, because even though the Sanderson sisters turned to dust, they're still really likable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at like everyone dresses as them for Halloween still. I mean, this film is 25 years old and there's kids that are dressing as the Sanderson sisters, I mean, it is something that it's just carried on. And it's because of the personalities, the individual personalities of those three ladies. Throw them in a room together and you could watch them for over and over again 65,000 times on Freeform.
Yeah.
It's so
and they
so
want
great.
to do it. I'm like going, it's not like, why would you do that? Anyway, question. Those people that make those decisions, why? And
yeah. So any other thoughts about the sequel from?
Be careful.
Yeah. So now
we'll always have Freeform. And now I have it.
It seems like it seems like you have done a little bit more research on this. Now, I know initially when it was announced, it was going to be Disney Channel only kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. Are we assuming it's going to go to the Disney streaming service, or is it going to be a theatrical release? Have they announced anything like that?
I haven't read anything. I would imagine, I don't know, because this Hocus Pocus originally was supposed to be just a TV movie, and they released it. They released it
July,
in the summer.
By the way,
when that's why probably the reason why it probably did so.
I remember. I'm like going, wrong time of year.
So who knows? Maybe if it's really good, if there's a lot of hype, I could see them releasing it as an actual film instead of a TV movie. But gosh, I don't know. I haven't heard anything.
Okay, fair enough.
We will all find out.
Yes,
at D23 2019.
They could always get dropped. I mean.
Pretty spot on.
Well, I just want to say thank you to the three of you for not only for coming on today, but just also for giving us a little bit of Disney in our lives. Every single day, it seems like you can go there and you can see these amazing pictures of this great food and just think about being on Main Street, which is the most regardless of which coast you're on. Main Street USA is the right. So we absolutely loved having you on. Thank you so much. So if you want to find more information about our show, you can follow us on Facebook. You can go to the Beyond the Mouse Facebook page. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes, either the Beyond the Mouse page, or if you want all of the Front Row network of shows, you can find us on the Front Row network as well. And you can always email us at thefrontrowmoviereviews.com. You can find all of the contact information there. But give us your plugs. Where should they go and find you? What should they already should be following you on Instagram by the time we're at this place right now, right?
Yes. Right. So we're on Instagram at Disneyland Foodies. We also have Facebook and Twitter.
Ooh, Facebook. I must do that.
Yeah. So go ahead and like us on Facebook. And, thank you so much for having us on. We're going to Disney World in a few weeks. We're so excited. And you guys have told us a lot. We've been listening to your podcast and getting tips and tricks. And all that.
That's wonderful.
We're really excited.
Yeah.
Well, check back in with us too. We would love to have you on any time that you'd like. It's so great to talk to you all the way from California, especially, I think it would be good to maybe next summer we could do Disneyland travel. Just like we did this summer with Disney World, we could do Disneyland next summer, and you could come back on. And
we're there. We're so there.
Thank you all so much. So we have this thing that we do when we sign off. We go around the room. It's really hard to do when you're looking at each other through computer screens. So we can do our side of the table first, and then we'll go to your side of the table. But for Beyond the Mouse, I am Craig.
I'm Vanessa.
I'm Brett.
I'm Jenna.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Kara.
And we'll see you real soon in the front row. Thank you all so much. It was so great to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I'm sorry that I kept you for more than an hour. I know.
Oh, no, we're sorry. We probably rambled a little bit.
No, this is the one that rambled.
What? Me?
Thank you.
I have more Disney experience.
But this will probably drop on Thursday, and I'll let you know if that changes. And then we'll have it on all the feeds and everything like that. And
Yay!
There you are. For Facebook, I'm following you on Facebook Live.
Yay! Thank you.
So thank you so much, and enjoy California. Be thinking about us in the cold Midwest.
Let us know if you're ever heading to Disneyland. Keep us posted. We'd love to meet up and all that.
Yeah, I'm going to D23 next summer. Yeah, so
awesome.
I actually, when we were starting to plan our fall trip, it was going to be to Disneyland. We have great friends that live in Forest Falls, so I used to live in Big Bear. And then they ended up having a second child. So instead of, we were going to
derail the plans a little bit.
Yeah, so we were going to go to Forest
Falls
and then drop down to Anaheim for a few days. But instead we ended up going out to Walt Disney World. So it was great too. But yeah, so thank you so much.
You all have a fun time too.
Yeah. I really want to hear later, like, what your favorite foods are at Disney World when you go on this next trip. So
we'll
need to check
in or something if you guys
do, like what we leared, like as kind of first.
Oh, that would be
cool.
Great. Yeah, it'd be great.
We'll definitely be following on your Instagram too.
Oh,
See what you're eating.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
no turkey legs.
No turkey leg. She's gonna be so mad at you for that. I think you lost a follower. And you gained
try a Disney World turkey.
Yeah,
leg,
maybe we will.
All right.
We'll Instagram live eating it.
We do have the meal program, so technically
the dining plan
or whatever. So
So what are you looking forward to? Any particular meal in
Ohana?
Oh God, Ohana's so good. We just went there. We
Le Cellier,
yeah.
Nest, all the.
Okay, yeah.
Do you ever go to Boma?
No, we don't have any reservations for Boma.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Ohana is just, and we took our friends there. We in the trip report that just dropped. They talked about it too, but like Ohana to me is just. I know it's not like the best food in the world, but to me it's like the best meal I've ever had. Like I love the atmosphere. I love everything.
Bread pudding.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that bread pudding. So
that's our last night. So we're closing.
Oh, cool.
Very cool.
Ohana.
Very cool.
It should be very special.
Well, yeah, check back in with us, and we'd love to hear again. And thank you so much, and have a good day.
We had a blast. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
See you.
Have a good one.
I had to say goodbye. Oh, there we are. Bye.
Oh, they're so nice.
They were so great.
How did you find them?
How charming.
Lou found them. So the next time, when we have